All right, let's hang out. I have a lot of work to do, and maybe we can talk about something, inspiring, productive. I'm not really having coffee's over, and plus it's 1:30 p.m. Might as well not have it. What I am doing here is a circuit board design. This is the sort of thing that is fun to do while watching something, and usually I do a lot of podcasts, but today I decided to talk because I usually do this sort of thing, but then I don't post. There's a fear of not being the perfect video, whatever, or some fear of judgment as well about certain opinions. And about that, oh my goodness, isn't that a constant battle today? Kind of difficult. I think we're all a little bit scared of talking about things today. Speaking of that, I could start with the one thing that I'm most feeling most inhibited to talk about, and why not just talk about that, overcome that fear. People that I look up to for multiple reasons, including their marriage, their kids, well-adjusted, great to be around, and they're good relationships in terms of community, like basically good marriage and good career, not and I mean that on the broader sense, the sense that it's a career that is emotionally fulfilling, that is edifying and is good for their spirit. It's not a dreadful money maker, but rather is stuff that they find themselves in. And so, and all this, well, coincidentally, they're Christians. Well, is it a coincidence? Well, I would have liked, and that's what I did, to think that, yes, it's not cause and consequence, but Christianity brings a certain set of principles and a moral compass and behavior that one holds him or herself accountable to, that are conducive to said success. So I was rolling with that, I don't go to church, but the same principles that you live by, I live by. There's more to it than I thought. Some things are kind of difficult to assimilate. When something so good happens that you don't feel worthy of it, I think a lot of being Christian is overcoming that feeling of unworthiness. Like, are you serious? I'm just forgiven, for my wrongdoings. I don't want to use the word sin yet. And yeah, you are, this is like, oh, just like that, that's too easy. And that really got me thinking, is this a good or a bad thing that we are sort of automatically forgiven? And I was thinking, and at first sight, when I was kind of resisting the idea of embracing Christianity, I thought it was a bad thing, because I'm like, okay, it's very easy for you to go and mess around, not be a good person in general, and then you just go to church and all is well. You know, you're forgiven, you're loved by Jesus, God, and all is well. And, you know, that leaves very little accountability on your end. And that's one thing I've always liked, accountability. You know, I believe that's a very important thing for us, you know. Okay, so that was the first impression, first thinking, if I, you know. But then I kept thinking about it. And today we, you know, you hear a lot about being not non-judgmental, right? And kindness. And it's funny that you hear it from the very people that are very harsh. And, you know, if you forgot to recycle your plastic bag, now all of a sudden you're a bad person. But we hear a lot about that. And then I'm like, you know what? Think about this. If everybody, if we're all, by definition, imperfect, and we need that forgiveness from Jesus, that put us all as an equal. And that might sound terrible. Oh, how so? You know, this person is a great person, is a righteous person, you know, does good things for everybody, and you know, and this like this other person is basically, you know, kind of like total drifter, addict, criminal, who knows. And this, I grapple with this. I struggle with the idea that we're all in the same bucket, if you will. You know, the best of humanity and the worst of humanity. And there's a very broad range there, isn't there? I mean, think of criminals and think of some people that are truly admirable. But you know, in that sense, if we're all in the same bucket, that's the least judgmental thing you can ever think about, literally. So you're saying that this, you know, rich person that does a lot of charity and, you know, has a really good civilized conduct, is truly an asset, and someone who's loving and productive, and this criminal, they're all in the same package. Okay. Yeah, talk about non-judgment. I don't think you can do much better than that. And but at the same time that non-judgment is there, with Christianity comes the standard of who? Christ. And nobody can beat him in terms of quality, you know, because he was shaped as a human, but he was God's son. Whereas if I got the story right, he's actually God himself. So that's your standard. That's your standard now. So it's a non-judgmental place to be. But with that non-judgment comes your new, I want to say obligation, but it's not obligation. Your new inspiration to be like Christ. That's a very high standard. And that's the part that is beautiful, you know, holding themselves accountable, though there is no judgment, you know, and I think, and I want to get a little bit less pragmatic here and say that that's the Holy Spirit in you, you know, that's the desire in you to do good even though you're already forgiven. So are you saying, it's like in school, are you saying I already passed and I'm going to graduate regardless. Yeah, it is. That's exactly what I'm saying. And then, oddly, this person who already graduated, now they're striving for the best possible grades that they want to have, because because out of the sheer desire of their heart. And you know, and that's beautiful. Okay, so that's great. Now let's look at the flip side of things. Let's look at non-Christianity. Let's look at people without, and I say Christianity, but you know, perhaps, I don't know. I'm very new to this, so I might be saying something that is nonsensical, and if I do, please forgive me. No, I'm already forgiven. Don't worry about it. Well, I mean it. You know, if I say something that doesn't make sense, that's please let me know. And forgive me for my ignorance. But probably Catholicism is the same idea and stuff. But let's look at somebody without religion, without God. I don't even want to say religion. I want to say somebody without God. But somebody who feels that they ought to have this righteous conduct. The first people that I think about are people that claim, and I say claim because I don't think their motivation is entirely that. I think there's more to the story than meets the eye. But the people that are trying to save the planet, okay? So they have all this makeshift morality that one ought to do this and not do that, and so on and so forth. And the truth is that nobody can be perfect in that sense. You know, there is a standard there that you can't meet. Let's say 0 carbon emissions. Okay? So everybody needs to stop eating meat, start eating crickets. But then, you know, somebody's going to stand up for the crickets, I'm sure. But it's like a spiral. It starts with, oh, let's have the cars do better gas mileage. Okay, that's fine. Now all electric cars. Okay, that's fine. Now no more meat. Okay. Now no more children. You know, because we're a cancer to the planet. We're going to talk about that. But I don't want to deviate from the main point. When you have this standard, this difficult, high standard to strive for, without God, truth is you are fallible. We all are. So we can't follow that perfectly. So you end up resenting yourself for failing. And worse, typically, and I want to say typically because I'd like to believe that some individuals wouldn't do that. But typically, what ends up happening is that because not only you fail to meet that standard, even if you do a good job at keeping it, for the most part, I think the more rigid you are with yourself, more rigid you are with others. Okay? So now you're coming from this place of non-forgiveness. You can't forgive you. You can't forgive anybody. That's hard. That's a very hard place to come from. Which generates what? Intolerance. So I find that it's not a coincidence that I'm sure this is becoming a delicate subject, and so be it. But I'm sure that much of the intolerance that we see coming from atheists, perhaps agnostics, spiritual people, comes from that place that they feel the weight of their imperfections, and to perhaps reconcile that inside of them without success, unfortunately, they project that onto others. So if I'm trying to save the planet, but I didn't do a perfect good job at recycling every single thing and reusing every single thing, I'm gonna want that everybody else do the same and do better and do perfectly. And now we're gonna get into heated debates where we're gonna signal our virtues to the world in hopes that we can convince ourselves about those. Meanwhile, making the other person feel pretty bad. Yeah. That's I think that that explains a lot about the times that we're living in. And it's truly heartbreaking. Yeah, amazing. And I think that starts to, unfortunately, touch politics, you know. Generally, I've noticed, and that's my perception, I might be wrong. And again, if I am, please forgive me for that. As far as I'm concerned, we still live in a free speech society, though there's a lot of encroachments on that free speech happening. But the people that think they don't have a religion, they actually do, but it's a little different. So their God is the planet. Is the planet. You know, and the trees and the environment. And you can say that global warming is, you know, the punishment from their God. Notice that I didn't say it doesn't exist, but the severity of it is something else. That's a different debate. But I think their God is the planet. And their religion is this radical submission to this planet, to this God, Mother Earth, if you will. I mean, and this comes with no disdain, but I'm just saying that is placed as a God instead of as our home. And now let me say this. Let me make a metaphor, and this is a bit of a poor metaphor, so you know, be advised. This is no genius work right here, but imagine you have a house, and there's a bunch of people living in the house, right? What do you need to do? You need to conserve the house so people can live well in it, right? You want the house to be clean. You want the house to be in good working order. Obviously, so the people that live in the house can live well, right? Good. Okay, so it's common sense that you want to keep the house in good shape for the people to live well. So what's the priority here? The house or the people? The people. But without a good house, the people suffer. So you teach these people that live in the house. You teach. I don't think you have to teach. I think they can figure that out for themselves. So there isn't a patronizing, belittling, I think that's a more appropriate word, attitude towards that. But you will stimulate and inspire these people to keep the house in good shape for their own good. Great. As long as they keep the house in good shape, we're all good. And the house probably won't be in perfect shape all the time. One day it's a little messy. The next day it's a little bit cleaner. One day it's got a little problem. Then the next day that's fixed. Great. Now, does it make sense to put the house first before the people and then kill everybody in the house, so then the house is permanently fixed and permanently flawless and perfectly clean, hermetically sealed, and will never be disorganized and a little bit dirty ever again? Does that make sense? Would you ever advocate for that? Well, hope not. That's what we're doing. The planet is our home. Humanity comes first. But there's when the planet becomes the god of the godless and being subservient to this god, the planet becomes the religion, then you put the planet first and the people last, and therefore all sorts of methods and an absolute intolerance, inability to forgive the people that can't, hold themselves to that incredibly high standard of not making any mess whatsoever in the house, creating all that intolerance. And then you start running into things like, let's forestall progress and starve people with higher gas prices and energy, and like the poor are the first suffer. But the house is happy. So yeah. Concerning, to say the least. And it gets to the point that everything is justified, and that's absolutely terrifying. So when you do have God in your heart, and you believe that we're made in His image, that we're loved by Him, now you're no longer putting the house first, but humanity first. Nonetheless, you fully acknowledge the need to care for the house. Holding a good job, creating a good household, raising good kids, people that will be good citizens and productive people. And you know what? When things are well in that aspect, they start automatically caring about, oh, my house is in great shape. I have my career figured out. I have a loving, supportive marriage. You know what? I'm going to do my part here to contribute for the well-being of the planet. Just like I previously mentioned, you're all forgiven, but your standard and your way of life is the way of Christ. Just like I mentioned again, it's like you already graduated. You're going to graduate nonetheless. And you still, out of your own heart, strive for the best grades you can get. So, I think it's quite undeniable that Christians are really good citizens, and they do a good job taking care of their lives. And they, out of the goodness of their heart, they do care for the environment. They do. But it's not out of trying to save themselves that they do that. They actually do it because they care and they want to live. They want to know that their kids, which they like to have many, and that's fantastic. And that's exactly what I have in mind for myself and, of course, my family. Difficult, kind of a pain point there. What was I saying? They want to live, they want to leave a good planet. You know, they want to leave a clean house to them in every way. An actual clean house, and of course, you know, the state of affairs of the planet and politics and everything else. Yeah, well, personally, I could have heard this whole thing just a year ago and you know, agree with a lot of those things, but it would not it wouldn't have an influence on me. But yeah, that's the thing. That's how life sometimes work, you know. I had to suffer a loss and find myself contemplating the fact that the way I've been doing things and orienting myself in the world, trying to take ownership of everything and controlling the outcome of everything wasn't working, and it was agony. And I decided to give it to him because I just couldn't keep doing what I was doing the way I was doing before. And now I'm here saying these things. Well, yeah, my actual intention when I started the video was to talk about something else, maybe something more practical. But yeah, I just want to finally come out of the closet and say, yeah, I choose to be a Christian. I think I have chosen to be a Christian a long time ago. I just wasn't open about it with myself even. And it's been quite a relief for my anxiety because I'm an anxious type A personality. But also, it's been... I never imagined that it would be hard to talk about it like that. Like, oh, this is what I chose. This is my priority now, to put God first. And truly, I'm fearing judgment. And I'm fearing certain labels, you know, because today we can talk about things that were taboo, and those are no big deal anymore. And then Christianity became a taboo? Are you kidding me? How so? This country, the United States, is a very, 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 very successful country. You can argue all you want. People migrate to this country and obviously, take my word for it, for a good reason. This country was built in Christianity. And it wasn't built on woo-woo. It wasn't built on worshiping the planet instead of God. Because when you worship the planet, you're anti-human. When you worship God, you're pro-humanity and prosperity for humanity. And now that this is a little bit in jeopardy as far as I can tell, it's sad to be watching this country getting weaker and weaker. But whatever I can do, man, to contribute for the US to remain a good, productive, benevolent Christian country, I'll do it because I'm very grateful to be here, and this place has been nothing but amazing. And nope, I do not buy into all the changes that, especially the young generation are asking, changes of the nature that are mutually exclusive with God. Like if you have God in your heart, you don't have that sort of idea in your mind. Things that are destructive for the family structure, for society, for the financial system that built this whole thing, proved extremely successful. Yeah, there is such thing as people starting at a super disadvantageous, if that's a word. And I don't want to call it privilege, man, because I hate that word. Are you kidding me? Privilege? Oh, you're privileged. Shut up. I mean, you weren't born the way you're born, the way you look, the family you were born, for a reason. Okay, that's what you were given. Okay, and for some it's great, for others not so much. But this idea of fighting over privilege, this is absolutely ridiculous. And let me give you this picture here, okay? If I bought into that mentality, this is how I would look at myself. Oh, I was born in a third world country in South America, and I don't have a college degree, and I'm Latino. And so therefore, I'm in trouble, and you owe me something. You owe me an easier time getting this job or whatever. Sure. I'm sure that would have been very less than helpful to me. But because I don't buy into that idea, this is how I look at myself. I have good health. I can function well in the world. I can work really hard. I can captivate people. And therefore, there is nothing wrong with me. And I can obtain the position in life that I always wanted for. And I'm talking about everything, not just career. Guess what? That worked out a lot better. But I could say, being born in a developing country and, not having a college degree, yeah, these are things that will not help, for sure. But you can, keep ruminating that truth. I'm not saying it's not true. And then lose sight of what you can actually do. Or you can say, the hell with that. I'm not even going to think about this. All I want to do is to focus on what's next, one step ahead of the other. And you know what? I've come really far. Good. So yeah, don't get caught up in that idea of privilege. Each person is privileged in a way or another. And some are more, some are less. And some things that might look like a privilege can be a curse. And the other way around. Give you an example. I know somebody who's black and very hardworking, and he has obtained a very high position. Part of the thing that drove him to be hardworking is that he was black. So he felt that he had the shorthand, and then he felt he needed to compensate for that. So he overcompensated and achieved remarkable results. So his curse was actually a blessing. I also know somebody who it blows my mind. Somebody who's absolutely a beautiful looking human being and smart, had access to all the good things, and that smartness, that intelligence really got in her way big time, in the form of overthinking, in the form of pride. Yeah, so that blessing was a curse. So you can talk up. This is another debate. We can talk about it for 2 hours, but it boils down to this one simple thing. Don't get caught up on that, regardless of your financial, your race, whatever. Don't get caught up in that. It's not helpful. So what's helpful? Helpful is to look forward and march forward. That's it. Done. Life's complicated, but sometimes what you need to do is very simple. All right, that's it. Take care. Bye.